Hello everyone. In our last classes, we learned about the structure of typical flower. That structure of typical flower are made up of four whorls. That is the outermost whorl, that is the calyx. Then inner side to that corolla. Again inner side to that is the androecium. And lastly the gynoecium. So these are the four whorls of typical flower which is present in all the flower. Okay. Again, that four whorls are divided into two groups. First, that is the accessory whorl, and second group, that is the essential whorl. So what is accessory whorl? Accessory whorl included calyx and corolla. Why it is called accessory whorl? Because it is does not take part in sexual reproduction directly, therefore it is called accessory whorl, and they are only support for sexual reproduction. For example, here corolla. Corolla are colorful in nature, therefore they attract the insect for pollinations. Okay, so it is also responsible for the sexual reproduction, but not directly take part in sexual reproduction. They only support for that. Therefore, it is called accessory whorl. Then next, that is the essential whorl. In that essential whorl, androecium and gynoecium are included because it is directly take part in sexual reproduction, therefore it is called essential whorl. It is very important for sexual reproduction, therefore it is called essential whorl. Okay. So here androecium and gynoecium, it is the most important part of sexual reproduction which is present in the flower, and you know the flower, it is the site of sexual reproduction. So how you can define the flower? Flower, it is a most evolved modified shoot, and it is the site of sexual reproduction. Okay. So let us see why that androecium and gynoecium are most important for sexual reproduction. You know that androecium, it is called male reproductive part, and gynoecium, it is called female reproductive part. So the member of androecium are called stamen, and the member of gynoecium are called carpel. Okay. So here the structure of stamen, it is made up of anther, that is the fertile part. It is very important part. In that there is a formation of pollen grain. Here the formation of pollen grain inside the anther, therefore it is called fertile part of the stamen, and it is very important. Okay. So that anther are made up of two lobes. Here first and second. Okay. Therefore it is called diathecous. It is made up of two lobes, therefore it is called diathecous. If it is made up of one lobe, then it is called monothecous. Okay. So here monothecous means what? When it is made up of single lobe, then it is called monothecous. But generally, mostly the anther are bilobed structure. Then after that, anther are connect with that filament with the help of connective. So connective means what? It connects the anther and filament. Okay. Then what is filament? It is a stalk-like structure which support the anther. So these three parts are present in the structure of stamen. Okay. Then after that, let us see the structure of gynoecium. It is made up of stigma, style, and ovary. Okay. Inside that ovary, there is a ovules are present. So these are the standard structure or typical structure of gynoecium. Okay. So what happen when that pollen grain are mature inside that anther lobe, they are released from that and they produce a pollen grain. Okay. So pollen grain are also called microspore. Then what happened? Pollination process are taking place. What is pollination? Here the transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma, that process are called pollination. Here the pollen grains are transferred from that anther to the stigma, that process are called pollination. Okay. What happened after that pollination? Here in that stigma there is a chemical components are present or sugary component are present. From that sugary component, that pollen grain are absorb the food material, and after that they are swollen. After the absorption of food material, from that stigma they are germinate, that pollen grain are germinate. After germination they form a small pollen tube, that is called the pollen tube. Then that short pollen tube are again grow longer and longer, and after that the components which is present inside the pollen grain are enter inside that pollen tube, which is grow longer and longer from that stigma through the style, and they go down. In this way they are grow longer and longer. After that what happened here, the component of pollen grain contain the two types of cell. First, that is the vegetative cell, and second, that is the generative cell. So here vegetative cell are degenerate and the generative cell are produce two male gamete. Okay. So that two male gamete are enter through that pollen tube, long pollen tube, and after that they are reaches to the ovule. Here that ovule are female gameto, they produce a female gametophyte structure which contain one eggs, two synergids, then in middle there is a polar nuclei are also called secondary nucleus, and again at upper end there is a antipodals, three antipodal cells are present. So these structure are called female gametophyte. Then what happened, that long pollen tube are reaches through that micropyle and they go through that synergids. So what is that synergids? The synergids are the structure which support for sexual reproduction, means they attract the male gamete, and after that male gamete are enter through that synergids, they absorb the water from that synergids and they release the male gamete nearer to the eggs which is present middle to that synergids. After that what happened, that one male gamete fuse with that eggs and they form a zygote, that is eggs are fused with the one male gamete and they produce a zygote. After that zygote are develop, divide, redivide, and they produce a embryo, and that embryo are develop into the seed. In this way one male gamete fuse with the eggs and they produce a zygote, after that embryo, and they produce a seed, and from that seed again a new plant is produced. Okay. Then what happened with another male gamete? That another male gamete are fused with that polar nuclei are also called secondary nucleus. Okay. So when that second male gamete fuse with the polar nuclei, they produce a, when the polar nuclei fuse with that another male gamete, what they produce? They produce a primary endosperm nucleus, that is called pen. Okay. So that primary endosperm nucleus are develop into the endosperm, which is called nutritive tissue. Why it is called nutritive tissue? Because it provides nutrition to the developing embryo for the formation of seed. Therefore it is called nutritive tissue. So in this way there are two times fertilization are taken place in angiosperm, and it is the speciality of angiosperm, that is the double fertilization. That double fertilization are not found in any kind of plant, that is gymnosperm, bryophyta or algae. It is the only characteristics of angiosperm. Therefore that double fertilization and triple fusion. Triple fusion means here there is a two polar nuclei and one male gamete, that is the two nucleus are already present and again one male nucleus are present and they fuse, that is called triple fusion. So therefore that characteristics, that is double fertilization and triple fusion, it is the only characteristics of angiosperm. So this is the short overview of sexual reproduction. Okay. So in our next classes we will learn about that is the actual process of sexual reproduction in detail. Okay, this is only the short overview. So here we will learn about, that is the microsporogenesis, then megasporogenesis, then formation of male gamete, then formation of female gamete, then what is pollination, fertilization, and how they form seed and fruit. Here we see about how the seed is produced. Seed is produced from the when eggs are fertilized with the male gamete. So here from that seed new plant is produced, and how the fruit is developed? Fruit is developed from that ovary. So thank you.